Now, here's a warning. Don't drink vodka with Russians. Don't drink espresso with Italians. Not because I don't love these people, just because you're in dangerous waters, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Bulletproof BJJ podcast. We're here to help you solve your jiu-jitsu problems. I'm JT, and I'm here with the ever-handsome Joseph Worthington.
But you know, fam, we can't help you solve everything unless you do one thing for us.
What's that, Joe?
And that's give us a 5-star review.
Ooh.
Write in, sickest podcast I ever heard. Tell all your friends. No, give us the 5-star review. Rate us, like, subscribe, whatever platforms you're on. Just do that little thing. Helps to get it out there.
Thank you. It does. We appreciate you. Many of you have, and it is helping. So thank you very much in advance.
We've almost hit 1,000. What is it? 1,000
5-star reviews.
5-star reviews.
Oh my goodness. We might be legitimate then.
We really want to just crest that 1,000. So
you're going to see my aura
everyone
glow.
Get on board.
Thank you. My goodness, how much jiu-jitsu should you train in a week? This comes up a lot. Now, we have a general prescription, but there's many different folks listening to this. People just started and their coach is saying to them, you need to train every single day. You need to train as much as possible. But that actually may not suit you. And we've got to dig into the details a little bit to find out what is going to be the right thing for you, whether that be not very much, a fair bit, or a lot. And we're going to unpack that.
Yeah, pros and cons to like more training.
Training, because
and less training. So we got to talk about what those are.
More is not necessarily better. And don't get me wrong, people. My life is littered with tales of crash and burn stories of excess. I like to do too much. I like to push the needle on things.
I have a hard time believing that, James.
It's crazy.
Tenacity.
I don't know why. I'm just like, yeah, but what if we did double? What if I ate 10?
What if I 10x that?
What's better? What if I just Grant Cardone the out of this thing? And it's strange because you want to find out. I mean, I do. They say if you push for your limits, you generally find them. And this can be, good and bad. This can be good and bad. And with jiu-jitsu,
what drives your that thing you do?
There is a line. There is an amazing line like God mode, where before you crash and burn, where you're like, oh my God, like it's like Fast and Furious. You're like, 1 cylinder of NOS, why not 2? Que nos das? Flip, good. Whatever that is, right? I think it just comes from being a fat kid. And I was like, well, why don't I eat 2 bags of burger rings? What if I drank a whole thing of Slurpee? It's like in The Simpsons where Bart Simpson gets a pure syrup Slurpee, like no eyes, and they go into the future. It's kind of like that. I don't know why. There's something in my mind, whether it just be derangement or whatever it is, I've always tried to push it.
Because you do it with things like you'll do it with anything.
Anything, pretty much.
Even stuff that's not enjoyable.
No, yeah, I like to find out what my tolerance is for things. I don't know. It could be masochism, I don't know. But if we relate this back to jiu-jitsu, I guess the times when I've come to understand what I could tolerate with jiu-jitsu started with I had more time, so I did more. And also my coach was always saying, hey man, train more. And then I found out I was actually training to keep my coach happy, not to make my life better or my jiu-jitsu better.
Yeah.
And so I think we all start jiu-jitsu to make ourselves happy, but then there's a point at which we want to keep the coach happy because also they grade us, blah, blah, blah. And then maybe you're not being coerced, but there comes this expectation that your coach is like, hey man, why didn't you come to the open mat on Saturday? You're like, dude, I got life. Like, why must I placate you? You know what I mean?
It's funny. You would never say, oh, I had something else on. You're always like, my car broke down and my mum got cancer. And it was, but I will be there this Saturday, coach. Like you really, it's amazing how, what's the word? Like indebted you feel.
Yeah, to the master.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, let's just start off at the minimum prescription, because I feel that we miss the value in this, because this is maybe not sexy, but 3 times a week consistently is really good for anyone who's just trying to get better at jiu-jitsu. They're not trying to be a world champion, they just want to get better. Why do we say this? Because it gives you enough time to process and learn, gives you enough time to recover, and also gives you enough time to do other things. which is, if you have other hobbies, interests, jobs, family, I believe that's you.
Yeah, it allows you to maintain a balance.
Yes.
Yeah, which I think the big one with all of this, right, is even people are like, well, I just want to train every day. But the big thing is the consistency point.
Yep.
Which we don't have to harp on about that now, but you could do anything for a short period of time. But the person who can do it kind of
long
perpetually, that's the big win. So if you're the person that trains 3 times a week, 52 weeks out of the year, man, you're crushing it.
Definitely. On net, you will get more sessions in. And the thing is, you don't know when you start. You just don't know. And the thing is, it's probably just, I think my need for excess comes from insecurity, being completely honest. Why did I want to be an Olympian? Because I want to be the best. Because I want to show everyone I'm the best. Because when I was a kid, I was not the best. I sucked, right? But the thing was, I had conditioned myself to train 6 hours a day. So from doing Taekwondo. So when I came to Jiu-Jitsu, I'm like, how do I turn this into what I did before?
Right.
How do I do more of the same,
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the way. But that's what I did because I had the ability to do it. I find this with a lot of endurance athletes because for endurance, it's always like, how can I do more? How can I do more? And if you take someone who's been a triathlete, marathon runner, whatever, they're like, well, how can I just do more? Because this seems like the basic way to get better. But actually, more is not necessarily better because chance of injury, it kind of goes up. Greater exposure to the thing, chance of injury goes up. And I think this is why we tend to we don't want you to get injured, so we generally encourage you to try and go with that minimum effective dose.
Yeah. I mean, we've also just seen
Countless
humans, right, who crash and burn, who start it, train at an unsustainable level, can't maintain it, whether it's injury or they just burn out because they get too into it and then they lose interest.
Yeah.
Or they put too much pressure on themselves and they lose interest. Whereas the parent who gets to the gym 3 times a week, they're not like changing the world each session, but they're doing it every week. You're like, they've actually gotten really good over 12 months.
Yeah.
And so I think that moderation thing, just on the whole, when you look at the span of jiu-jitsu people, the people who are moderate but consistent win.
Yeah.
Of course, you got the upper echelon of athletes who are always outliers, who just train all the time. But yeah, like for the everyday human, it's consistency and the moderation.
And winning is different for everyone, right? Like,
yeah,
like if your goal is just to get better at jiu-jitsu and you don't aspire to be the best in the world, then just improving is the way. And also it maintains the specialness.
Yeah.
If you're not doing it every day, you're like, oh, I love when I come to jiu-jitsu. Whereas I feel definitely some of the specialness or the magic can wear off if you're just in there every day. You're like, you almost make it a grind for yourself. It can go that way.
Yeah.
Potentially. But hey, let's take that next step. Let's say you've done the 3 times a week and you're like, you know what? I just sold my business. I'm taking a year off. I do whatever the hell I want. Or maybe you're a business owner, or who knows? Maybe you've got a gap year from uni. You're like, I want to train every day. How do I do that? And generally what I recommend is if you are someone who wants to train 5, maybe 6 days a week, we always recommend, have a day off, to have a day which is harder and a day that's easier, and try and alternate that. Like whether that mean you do a couple of open mats, but don't make every single day competition class.
Yeah.
Like I think this is the mistake that sometimes you get super buzzed, right? Like you have a real full-on session and you're exhausted afterwards, but you get that amazing feeling that comes with those sessions, and you're like, oh, I just want
more of this.
Yeah, give me that every day.
This shit.
Yeah,
chase eyeballs. Yeah, I mean that's we talk about it a lot, but that's the inherent problem, isn't it? That chasing that high masks all of your soreness, your pain, your fatigue. It all gets masked by that. Yeah. And so you can have a great time there right now and in the hours after, but you realize, I'm actually like sleeping like shit and I'm a total mess at work and I'm not bringing much energy to anything else in life. And I'm showing up to jiu-jitsu and I'm shit at the warm-up and I can't pay attention, but then I'm down to bang when it's time.
I'm killing crew. I'm killing them. Do you find you get thirsty at training? I do. I do all the time. I'm a sweaty human and I need to hydrate. Now, the biggest problem is by the time you're thirsty, it's a little bit late. You need to hydrate. And that's why we got Sody. Sody is sponsoring the show. We've got all the colors of the rainbow. Great flavors here. We've got salty citrus, salty pineapple, salty berry, and my favorite, salty grapefruit. And they will be releasing 2 new mystery flavors soon. So why do we need this? It's going to prevent our muscle cramps. It's going to help our energy delivery. And it's also going to mean you're less tired, which is an advantage when you're training. If you want to maximize your jiu-jitsu and feel good when you're rolling, you need to get Sody. And when you purchase, enter the code Bulletproof20 at checkout for 20% off. Oh yeah. And I think sometimes people get this experience if they do they go to Thailand and do a Muay Thai camp. They go to Bang Tao or they go to Tiger MMA or like Tiger Muay Thai and they just train for a month. And they're like, I'm in there every day. It is actually a beautiful experience. There is something to it which as grown adults, when you're, late 30s, 40s, whatever it might be, you don't experience that. Like maybe when you're a kid, like you were just, eating, sleeping, training, like life was simple. There's a beauty to the simplicity. I was talking to a friend at an open mat about this, saying when all you have to think about is like eat, sleep, train, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
There's no worries. It's
simple.
Life's simple. And this brings a great deal of relief because you're just doing the thing. So I think, that's great for a month. But if you try and map that out over 6 and 12 months, it's almost impossible to keep up unless you've got some kind of sugar daddy or financial backing to allow you to just live your life in this way. And then also there's a critical point at which it stops being as nice, that you do get accumulated lumps and bumps, and then you do get slightly decreased life function, even though your jiu-jitsu function goes up.
Yeah.
There's an element of that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess there's periods in your life, isn't there, where, you can do that. I don't know. Yeah, maybe you got some money from mum and dad. Maybe you, you saved up and you just like, you don't have a job or something, or you're doing something pretty cash.
Sacked or
and you're like, all right, I'm just going to go super hard on this for 6 months.
Yeah.
I think like it's amazing and you should do it. But to think that is how you're going to be able to do it, like moving forward forever.
Come on, Joe. Jiu-jitsu lifestyle.
Right? We can't all be just sitting down at the Ipanema beach eating acai post-training,
baby, every day.
Speaking in broken Portuguese. But so it's a short-term thing, and I think, you should definitely live it. But I know, like, for most of our listeners, it's like you can get caught in that mindset as a parent or as a 30-year-old who maybe you don't have a family, or maybe you don't have kids, but you've got a job.
Yep.
And you've got some responsibilities, and you're like, but I got to get in there 6 days because so-and-so who I train with, the other blue belt, he's in there 6 days a week. Yeah, well, Kevin is 23.
Yes, that's right. He's a trust fund kid.
Yeah, and like, you're 30 and you got a full-time job and you're, whatever, like trying to make ends meet. It's different, right? So, yeah, you might be able to make that happen, but probably not. And there is a price to pay. Like, you do get banged up.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is where, and this is not being negative in any way, because, you've got to be careful what you wish for. And the reason I say this is, I got what I wished for. And it's not necessarily what you want. You think you want it and then you get it and you're like, oh my God, I'm kind of fucked up. So my first extended stay to Brazil in 2012, I was there for 6 months as a blue belt. And I went there just post-Worlds. So I got there kind of end of June, start of July, through to like end of January the following year. And it was kind of cool because there was a little bit of a lull in the training. So you got to meet more people, train more, and it wasn't as comp focused. It went more to no-gi season in terms of how they were running it at that time. But I was like, how much jiu-jitsu can I do? Like, I'm just here, me and my credit card. Woo! Like, I'm just training, right? So I was like,
I got the next 3 decades to pay this off.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was like, let's find out what twice a day, every day feels like. And for the first month, it was kind of okay, even though I was like pretty sore. And then I kind of adapted a bit. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. All right. Like everything's a bit sore, but maybe that's what this is. And I was like, what if I did 3 times a day?
Legit.
Couldn't actually do it. I did a week where I did 3. I did a morning class, a lunch class, and a night class.
Morning was like early morning?
Early morning, which is much more chill, like not competitors, more professional people and like had jobs and lives. And then the next day I woke up crippled sore, but I'm like, no, 3 a day. I tried to get through the 3 sessions and then could barely walk home. And I had to take the rest of the week off because I was just like, I'll just be completely honest. Like I couldn't close my hands or open my hands. My wrists were so sore I couldn't bear weight and I couldn't fully straighten or bend my legs. Like the level of intensity was so high. So I was like, shit, all right, I can't do 3 a day. That's not what I can physically manage. Everybody's different, right? So I kind of came back to this thing of doing 2 a days pretty consistently and then having a Friday where I just did 1 session and a Saturday was like 1 session and weights. You know, like I was doing weight training kind of 2-3 times a week amongst that. And I was able to work out what I could tolerate. And I think here's the thing. There's a lot of trial and error in BJJ. So even though I could say to you, oh, do this as a prescription, there's nothing to say you'll be able to hack that. You do have to see where you're at health-wise and fitness-wise to be able to put up with that shit, right?
Yeah.
And so I think this is the thing. When you go to your coach, your master, your mentor, it's not often they go, well, you know, suck it and see how you go. Like, work it out for yourself. That doesn't feel very instructive, right? So they're just going to be like, be here every day, do this, do this, do this. But that advice, even though it might be coming from a good place, may not suit you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want the best gear for BJJ, you need to go to parryathletics.com. These are our guys. They support the show. George, great guy, great creator, awesome colors, awesome styles, and also the best fit. It feels great. And that's the thing. It's not just that it looks good, it feels good. And the thing that for me, I love the most is I can wear the stuff at Jiu-Jitsu, but then also they've got that other side, the cool side where you can wear it off the mats. And they are our exclusive partner in apparel. If you want to get bulletproof gear, you've got to go to parryathletics.com. And when you buy anything at checkout, enter bulletproof20 for 20% off. Oh, yeah. Did you have a time, Joey, where you OD'd on training, whether it was jiu-jitsu or any other kind of training, where you got the froth? Was there a moment?
mean, yeah, I can remember having the froth. I do remember when I first started at the HCO Club in Bondi.
Yeah.
I would do 2 a days there often.
Right.
And it was, I was fresh white belt. I came in and it was no-gi season. Like when I started, they were just doing no-gi. And it was just like a fight club. There was very little instruction. And it was like, hey, just you roll with him now and just like, you know, whoever wins, that's kind of what's of importance here. So I loved it. And I just come back from traveling and was like, just finding this outlet.
Give yourself to a thing.
Yeah. And so I remember often training twice a day because I had fuck all else to do except go to the bar that night and try to meet women. And so, you know, that was great. And I remember a friend, had an Italian guy training there who was a beast actually, Emilio, I think his name was. And I remember he said to me one time, I saw him, he saw me going to lunch class and then we ran into each other at the night class and he said, where do you get the energy? And I remember thinking about that and I was like, I don't know. But, you know, I tell you where I got the energy, bro. I got no job. I'm 24.
Do what I want.
Yep. And just like...
Happy days.
Yeah. Like, you know, I didn't sleep well. I was up drinking last night, but it didn't matter. I was 24.
Who cares?
Yeah.
It's good.
So, you know, so that was a really lovely period. But that kind of... Back then, I did sort of have a job. I'd work part-time in the film industry.
Sure.
But I had periods where there was no work on.
Space, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that this is maybe a caveat to this whole discussion is like, if you're the kind of person that has contract work and you have periods where you're completely off the mats and then you got a chunk of time where you can be on them, yeah, maybe you want to just be on them as much as you can for that period because you know you're going to go away for work and there's no training.
There'd be gaps, yeah.
Yeah, so, that was super exciting. But I think I carried that with me for that set the tone for my initial first few years at jiu-jitsu.
Right.
And as I've spoken about at length before, that did end up turning into me kind of burning out with it a bit.
Right.
And feeling beholden to the academy and keeping my coach happy. And so I think that it kind of, it was the foundation of what became not a particularly healthy approach to training.
Yeah, I think it's probably like many things in life, your relationship to things, like how it starts isn't how it finishes per se. But like, there's a saying, it sounds a bit trite, but it's like what got you here won't get you there. Like what got you from white to blue belt won't get you from blue to purple.
Different tools, yeah.
Yeah. And so I want to throw back to a time which is peak caffeine consumption, JT, in Melbourne.
How many shots a day are we talking?
Well, at this time, I had said to myself, I need to cut back. I was doing probably 5 double espressos a day.
Wow.
PT? Going nuts on PT because I was kind of single. I'd been in a long-term relationship. I'd come out of that. I was early in the jiu-jitsu journey, and I was getting up at probably 4-ish to open the gym at about 5:30. I'd work all day and then go to jiu-jitsu at night.
Wow.
And I was just pumping espressos all day. But so it was actually a Saturday morning, and there was a cafe which was on the side of a roastery.
Which Saturdays in that PT grind, Saturday you are at your wit's end.
Oh, bro.
Because it's been a long ass week.
Oh, and I'd actually been out the night before because the girl I was dating at the time would like to party.
Right.
And I pretended to like to party so I could hang out with her. And so I'd had a bunch of drinks, and I was a bit hungover, and I was like, I need that coffee. If you are into the bean juice, if you're into the black energy sauce, you know how I feel. You're hungover. It's kind of like, 7 a.m. The light is hurting your eyes. You're like, I just need that first coffee to ease my pain and regulate this junky feeling. And so this cafe, the cafe roastery is called Veneziano. It's moved, I think. It's a much bigger professional facility now. Like it was a professional facility then. Anyway, this is many years ago. It's like, 15 years ago almost. I go and the cafe's closed. What the f***? They're never closed. But then, so there was this really good barista, Italian guy. Now here's a warning. Don't drink vodka with Russians. Don't drink espresso with Italians. Not because I don't love these people, just because you're in dangerous waters, folks. So I'm dehydrated. I'm hungover. I need a fucking coffee. I walk around the corner and like Luca's there having a cigarette. Like his English was kind of...
He's the barista?
He's the barista. He's always there. He knew me. And there was a congregation of people, but they were like kind of in aprons and shirts. And I was like, what's going on here? And there was a group, like 12 people or something, a mix of people. And they were there for a barista training course. And I was like, I was like, what's going on, Luca? He's like, we're shut. And I said, what? And he was like, barista training course. I'm like, I could train to be a barista. And he was like, oh yeah, he gave me the eyebrows. He's like, oh yeah. And I was like, what's going on, man? Like, can I get in on this? And he's like, it's pretty organized. They paid. And I'm like, well, can I just, like, are you running this? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, bro, like, can I, like, what's going on? But there was a lady who was supervising it. And then I was like, fuck this. I'm tailing in on this shit. I am a barista. I'm a barista now.
Because you wanted the free coffees? Or you're like,
I need a coffee. I mean, yeah, I was down to learn, but I was like,
wow.
I was like, fuck it, I'll be a barista. And so
it wasn't a cafe across the road or some shit?
No. Because I was also asked by my girlfriend to get her coffee from here. Like she's a very specific lady.
Right.
So I tail in on this group. Yeah, I was under the thumb 100%. Anyway, I tail in on this group, and this lady kind of looked at me a bit suspect because I didn't have any like hospitality gear on.
Yeah.
I just rocked
Just
up.
a blue belt.
Just in my gi. I'm about to go to open mat. $5 espressos, please. So anyway, I walk in, and the lady looks at me and goes, "Oh, are you here for the barista course?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Who are you with?" And I said, "Oh, I work at this cafe on Bridge Road, around the corner." She's like, "Really?" She's like, "I don't see you on the list." And Luca was like, "No, he's good." But here's the thing I didn't realize. Luca was setting me up. You got to be careful what you wish for, people. So I get in there and she's like looking at me a bit weird. She's like, all right, please put your name down here, write the cafe you're with. She was like sus on me, right? So anyway, I get in there and they're just teaching how to do the grind and pull it. And I'm just like, I just need a coffee, man. I just need a coffee. Anyway, Lucas is like,
You know how to do the grind. Just let me do it.
shaking. Anyway, so they start pouring shots, right? And they're like, oh, who wants to try the shots? And I'm like, me. So I'm like, but what I didn't realize is like, we're going to pour a lot of shots. You know how a wine tasting, they'll like taste it and spit it out?
Yeah.
I ain't spit nothing out. Dude, I must have had 20 shots of espresso inside of about 80 minutes.
Whoa.
It is the most coffee I've ever had. It is. But Luca
Were you
was
loving it at the time? You're like,
It started well because I was like hungover and arena, and I was like, yeah, I could do this all day, maybe. But Luca was like looking at me like, I'm gonna get this guy. Like he shouldn't be here. So he was kind of like playing along, but he was like, he just kept feeding me shots. He was like, oh man, try this one, a single origin, try this. And I was like, oh, like, he's vouching for me to be here. So and I was like, yo, Luca, can you make my girl's coffee? Because he knew it was like in Melbourne it's called a Magic. It's a 3/4 double ristretto daddy. It was the barista's
what's
coffee.
it called?
It's called a Magic.
A Magic.
It's a 3/4
double
latte
riz.
with a double ristretto, so it loses the bitterness.
Okay.
Anyway, she wanted a Magic from this guy, and I said, bro, can you just hook this up? Because the next stage was milk. At this stage, I'm getting bubbling sensations in my stomach, and I'm like, I need to go to the toilet. Like, I need to go to the toilet so bad. And he keeps plying me with espressos. And I'm like, bro, I got to go. Can you get me the... I was like, bro, here's $5. Like, I got to get out of here. And I was like, busting for the toilet. I said, oh, excuse me. Can I just use the bathroom? So I'm like running to the toilet. Explosive diarrhea. Oh, my God.
Got to the toilet?
Yeah, got to the toilet.
Okay.
Explosion. I had to put the coffee outside, like I like posted on the sink, sat down, disaster town. Anyway, the lady comes knocking, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I'll be out shortly. Anyway, the energy hits me. I hit this wave of adrenaline like I have never felt. Like a tidal wave of adrenaline hit me like Uma
Thurman, Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, dude. Forget the coffee. Like, forget my girlfriend's coffee. Just power walk out of there. Like, today's going to be a great day. Like, didn't say goodbye to anyone. So thirsty. Stop. Powerade. I'm going to go to the gym. Completely forgot about my girlfriend's coffee.
No way.
100%. Like, went into a different dimension. I don't know if you've ever seen the episode of Futurama where main character Fry gets 100 coffees and it's ticking up like 98 coffees and he's shaking, and then he hits the 100th coffee and he goes into like bing, time slows down and he like saves the day. Kind of like that, except more like me on methamphetamines. Like, I just forgot about my girlfriend's coffee, went to the gym, did the workout of my life, came home, she wasn't there. I was like, oh, I guess she's gone on with her day. That's cool. Cleaned the whole house, like had the most productive day of my life, and crashed and had and just bottomed out. Do you need the best inside information on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? I have the answer for you. It is Tap, Nap, and Snap, the Jiu-Jitsu newsletter. We have partnered with them to help you guys connect to the latest happenings, drama, gossips, and goings-on in the BJJ world. We even have our own little section dedicated to helping you move better for BJJ. So if you're interested to find out more, click the link below and get connected with Tap, Nap, and Snap, the BJJ newsletter. So, two lessons in all of this. One, don't drink coffee with your Italian barista who's out to get you. And two, you can't have too much of a good thing.
Yeah.
It's possible. If you push too hard, you're going to find out.
And don't gate crash the event.
That's it. I mean, that might be considered morally reprehensible, but I guess I got mine.
Luke is like, it's fine, bro. You crash. I won't make you pay.
Yeah, he did. He totally got me. So it's difficult, people. I mean, it can happen, right?
Oh,
and
God.
so why do I say this to you? I'm being completely honest. I have done too much and have suffered as a result. And we want to save you the suffering, right? Like it's not worth it. And even though in the moment something can feel a bit fun and like, oh, this is cool, like let's see how far we can push it. Sometimes it can go bad. And we really just don't want that for you. You know, I've learned from my mistakes, whether it be jiu-jitsu or coffee consumption. But yeah, if you're someone who already has a busy schedule, you want to just stay consistent to improve at jiu-jitsu. If you're someone who has a freer schedule, you can do a bit more, but definitely try something for like a month and just see if you feel good at the end of the month. Try it for another month. Yeah, and just tweak it. I think having the ability to reassess if it's working for you is important.
Well, the way you just brought us back to the conversation after the adrenaline ride we all just went on, I'm like, bro, you transitioned quite well to that.
Oh, thank you, Joe.
I'm still just like I'm just imagining drinking that much coffee and being that out of my head from it.
Oh, I can't hideous. Even tell you.
Anxiety? Any anxiety? Do you recall?
No, elation, like on drugs, elation. Like
wow.
I can do anything. Like I lost track of time.
Yeah,
space and time went away. I totally forgot I was meant to be doing anything with my guy. I almost lost the relationship that day.
Yeah, right.
She came home and I was like, came out of this coma, like, and she's like, "What the fuck happened to you today? Where the fuck is my coffee?" Like, and I was like, "Oh, the coffee." I'll go back. No,
I'll call Luca. So what we should talk, because I know we haven't done like the top level yet, but if you're training that much, the other thing you got to take into account is doing all your other training, right? Getting to the gym, lifting, stretching.
This is tough. I think people often think if I'm doing that much jiu-jitsu, I don't have to do the other stuff. But truth be told, if you're, say, a professional athlete, say you're someone who is intent on being a world champion, ADCC champion, Craig Jones Invitational champion. Oh my God. You're going to want to train twice a day, but that means you've got to do more maintenance.
Yep.
You do have to do more stretching, more lifting, and more recovery stuff. You can't think more jiu-jitsu will solve all the problems. It's just more wear and tear, and I think many people leave that out of the equation.
Yeah, and I think the dilemma is for the majority, like for the busy humans out there, is that you go, oh, I'm going to squeeze in a couple of extra jiu-jitsu sessions a week into your already busy lifestyle. And you might be able to do that, but it displaces your opportunity to go to the gym and do some work on your body. And so then you just end up, I'm training jiu-jitsu all the time and I'm not doing anything for myself outside of here. Whereas if you trained a bit less jiu-jitsu, did more for your body, that would be better for your jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So there is a like something to be learned from the restraint there.
Yeah. And look, we often don't do it as humans. It's just like a bit of a, I guess it's like a sunk cost bias. Well, I've trained this much. I need to keep going with it. When actually, you can maybe take a day off. You can not go to that session and then maybe swap it for a gym session or swap it for you want to do an ice bath with your friend or whatever it might be. Like it's okay to just switch up your schedule and just see how you feel.
Yeah.
And feel potentially the benefit from that.
Do we got to go high level?
So no. I think if you're someone who's looking to train, I think high level is twice a day. Like if you can do twice a day, 5 days a week, that's as much as you need to do. Yeah. And generally, if you're speaking with someone, they're like, oh, well, I train 3 times a day.
Does anyone train 3 times a day?
I think there are some people out there who do it, but they're the like 0.1% of the elite. And maybe if they're older, maybe they're enhanced. You never know.
But where do you actually fit the time in to do that to any meaningful extent?
No. But what I'm saying is someone who trains 3 times a day is not a normal person. They are like a world-class athlete, want to be world champion. Yeah. So that's very few people you ever meet.
But even a world-class, like wouldn't they be like, well, one of those sessions, like I got to get to the gym and do some weightlifting or whatever?
No, almost there's so many people who do not address that.
Yeah, right.
Like there's so many people who are not taking care of their S&C in any meaningful way. Unfortunately, but that's okay. Like, my advice to anyone, because I've learned this from people smarter than me, better than me, speaking with someone like a Craig Jones, a Lachlan Giles, even a Levi, there were times when those guys did more and then they went, oh, I didn't get better. I'll do a bit less. And they usually will do 2 a day. They do a lighter session and a harder session and that's it. they're not doing the 3-a-days.
Yeah.
So I think, you do have to find out where your limit is. And if I take that advice from someone who I consider to be one of the best in the world, and they say, hey, man, like even a guy like Leandro, he peeled his training back to just one really hard session a day.
Right.
They used to be 2-a-days every single day with the meows at Brotherhood. At Cicero Costa. But then he then took it back a notch. Like once he'd realized, okay, what works for me, that was one hard session a day.
Yeah.
And he was one of the greatest champions of all time, RIP. But yeah, so it is important that you're not just taking someone's advice. This is just a bit of a framework we're giving people, and you go and give it a spin, and then you're able to tweak it to find out what is sustainable. There it is, folks. Push your limits and you will find them.
Yeah, sustainability wins.
Definitely.
Boss.
Thank you.